Hi, my name is Julie Sullivan. I'm a freshman nursing major at the University of Vermont, and this is a video basically just about the film Citizenfour, kind of the background and how it relates to today. So the film Citizenfour is directed by Laura Petraeus, and it basically is about this man, Edward Snowden, who was a former NSA worker. And the film kind of takes place around 2014 in October. So Edward Snowden used to work for the NSA, and while he was working there, he discovered that the NSA was actually surveilling American citizens through their phone records, the internet. Basically, the American citizens have no privacy because the NSA is basically always watching over. And Snowden then found it appropriate to expose this information because the general public had no idea of it. It wasn't known that they were being surveilled. And so then he took the steps of reaching out to reporters such as Glenn Greenwald and the woman who directed this film in order to, expose that truth. And so basically what Snowden talks about is how the government is using all of this information collected on people to then create these profiles for them. And this is called like data metadata. So what happens is as the government gets information from phone records, the internet searches, what you type into your search bar, they then can create these profiles for you about like who you're interacting with, who you're contacting, when you're contacting them, what are you looking up. And they can create these like depictions of who you are as a person. And often these depictions aren't actually accurate because while the government can see who you're talking to or can see what you're looking up, they don't have the full context of the situation, so they're unable to actually know what you're saying to these people. So just an example, say you were like calling a fast food restaurant and you order your fast food and then you put your phone back in your pocket and you then butt dial somebody else. When you're butt dialing them, you accidentally call a man who makes bombs and your phone keeps redialing the number over and over and over. So next thing you know, up on your metadata, you have like 5 to 10 phone calls to a guy who's, a bomb maker, a known bomb maker. And what that can do is project a negative profile on yourself and then cause the NSA to think that you're a potential terrorist or a threat to the nation. So the government's main reason for surveilling the American citizens is in order to prevent terrorist attacks. The figure they often use is that since surveying has been happening, 54 attacks have been avoided. Now, what they fail to recognize is with the 54 attacks that have been avoided, there's also been people falsely accused of crimes because of their profiles from the metadata collected on them. So what I liked most about the film was the fact that throughout it, they had these kind of clarifying slides that would just be text, which were really helpful in understanding what was actually happening during the video. Going into the video, I had no prior knowledge of Snowden or his exposing of the NSA surveilling Americans and other international powers. However, throughout the video, I feel like I was able to fully grasp what was happening, and I think that those slides in between with the text explaining kind of the background to the situation really helped me to understand kind of all of the impacts of Snowden's work and what it really means for Americans and others who are being surveilled. I also really liked the fact that the video kind of made Snowden not into this, hero for exposing the NSA, but they also kind of humanized him and making him into an actual person. We got to learn that he has like a long-term girlfriend who came to live with him in Russia, and that he didn't want to get his family involved, which I thought was, a really nice sort of background to him because in general, I feel like the public appreciates Snowden certainly for what he's done. Now everyone knows that the NSA is doing this. However, I feel like the NSA is portraying him as, a horrible person who's committed treason, who's a threat. And so by the video kind of giving him, in a way, like human characteristics, we know he has a family, we know he has loved ones. It really humanizes him and, makes it into kind of like, just another person, which is nice. So what I disliked most about the video was sort of towards the middle end. There was this one scene where Glenn Greenwald was either at an interview or a press conference. I really wasn't able to tell. And he's speaking in another language, but there's no subtitles. And the scene kind of goes on for, I'd say, like at least a minute and a half. And without the subtitles, I had literally no idea what was happening. And so I kind of feel like I missed like a major plot point in that sense, just because, I don't speak that language. I don't even know what the language was. And I was just unable to understand that portion of the film. And also, I found the ending to be very, very confusing. I liked the way it was filmed. I thought it was like aesthetically pleasing, but with the whole conversation between Greenwald and Snowden, it was like a conversation back and forth on pieces of paper. I think they were doing it because they didn't want to say these people's names out loud because they're like classified sources that they're using. However, what they would do was Glenwald would be like, this person, and would hand Snowden the paper, and then Snowden would look at the paper and be like, oh, okay. But meanwhile, as the viewer, you have absolutely no idea who they're talking about, what they're talking about. And so I feel like that exchange with the passing of paper and the secrecy just really confused me, and I feel like I missed the whole ending of the film. I don't really understand the ending in general just because I was getting so caught up on what's on the paper. What do I not know? Or why is it being done this way? Like, why am I not being able to see the paper? That I honestly feel like I missed the whole ending because of it. So I'd say that was kind of a downfall to the film as well. So I don't understand the ending. So a few minutes ago, I basically talked about how one of the ways that the NSA is collecting their information is through phone companies. And a current event that relates to this is the San Bernardino terrorist attack. So what happened was basically it was a mass shooting in 2016 where 14 were killed and 22 were seriously injured. And what happened was they then found one of the shooter's phones. However, the shooter's phone was locked with an iPhone passcode. And the FBI investigators wanted to basically get into the phone so that they could, find out more about this guy, find out who he's talking to, that kind of deal, kind of to solve the case. And so they asked Apple, because it was an iPhone, they asked Apple for the algorithm that would basically unlock the shooter's phone and anyone's phone who has an iPhone. It's an algorithm to unlock any iPhone, essentially, rather than just asking Apple to unlock the one phone. And so Apple said no, because the primary selling factor of Apple is the fact that it has such high security, such privacy, and if they were to give that away, then they'd literally be selling half their business. I mean, who'd then want an Apple iPhone if you know that anyone can just get into it based on this algorithm? I mean, it could be sold on the black market, anything. And so Apple said no, as a way to then protect their company economically and American citizens from then having the government have access to literally be able to unlock anyone's phone, which would just be another way for the government to surveil people. And so what ended up happening was that the government then found a hacker to get into the phone and unlocked the phone. So they never actually got the algorithm. Another way that this idea of government surveillance can be seen is through the Iranian government. So currently in Iran, government is controlling its citizens by blocking and monitoring the websites they have access to. Like, for instance, people can't use Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, any sort of social media site is just blocked. It's as a way to, prevent expression, resistance of, government policies or like protesting government policies. So basically, the government is trying to prevent all of that. And by doing that, they're imposing a sense of control of the people. And one of the ways the people are resisting the government's imposed control is by using encrypted messages. So there's these certain applications that can actually encrypt messages that the government then can't decode. So one of them is actually called Telegram. And Telegram is being used by a lot of young Iranians who are using it to express their own ideas that the government would censor otherwise. So, for instance, some of them are about LGBTQ rights or about how the government should not be allowed to surveil your internet. And by having these platforms where the messages are encrypted, a sense of communication amongst the Iranian people is being established, which who knows what it could relate in, but right now that's how the Iranian people are resisting this sense of oppression and surveillance that governments are insisting upon their people, just as right now the U.S. citizens are being surveilled by the government through internet, phone, just as Snowden revealed. I mean, right now, it's so well known in the United States that we're being surveilled that it's actually become a meme amongst, college kids, high school kids. I mean, you'll be scrolling through your Instagram feed or like Facebook, and a little meme of, oh, the government's watching me will be put up. I mean, it's actually turned into a joke now at this point. The fact that, everyone knows that we are being watched. I mean, some people won't even type certain things into like a Google search engine because they know that, it's going to be collected into their metadata. And then just a little update to end this video. This year, 2018, Congress recently approved an act that's going to extend the Surveillance Act for an additional 6 years. So it sounds like this idea of, monitoring the citizens of the U.S. is just not going to end anytime soon. I mean, at least for another 6 years. Everyone's actions are going to be being watched. And so for Snowden to have revealed that and to be produced for people to actually understand what that means, I think it's really useful. I came into this lecture and this class not really honestly knowing much about it. But after it, I feel like I really understand the implications and how it's actually affecting me and others. I mean, in a general sense of, people wrongly being accused, when they haven't done anything wrong for just based on inaccurate assumptions based on metadata. I feel like once you get this half of the story, you're able to then see that it's not just about protecting against attack, that there are other repercussions. And I think seeing that is very valuable and, may change your opinion on surveillance in general, which is why I think this video is very powerful and overall great.